Good evening and thank you for joining us. U.S. President Donald Trump is revealing details of a brazen military operation by U.S. forces who captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife in Caracas today. The pair touched down in New York, where they are set to face narco-terrorism-related charges. CTV's Kamal Karamali starts us off.
In a shocking move few saw coming, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro captured, seen here blindfolded on a U.S. Navy ship in a large-scale military operation today. These pictures released show U.S. President Donald Trump watching a live stream of the capture.
Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault.
Trump saying today the U.S. will run Venezuela until a safe transition is complete and will be strongly involved in the country's massive oil reserves, recruiting American companies to invest in what he calls a broken infrastructure.
We're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to. So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries, many of whom are using it now. But I would say many more will come.
Raising questions of the United States' motive and the legality of their strike.
That's a real problem because you have to prove that you're under an armed attack. Yes, they're eliciting terror on the streets because of the trafficking of drugs, but that's not an armed attack. And that's why the legal basis of this is a little bit flimsy.
The U.S. has claimed Maduro runs a narco-terrorist organization, even executing raids on oil tankers linked to Venezuela in the past month.
Is this a government that the United States will appoint? These are questions that the president simply was not ready to answer.
Maduro and his wife have now been charged and indicted in New York, according to Attorney General Pam Bondi, saying they will face the full wrath of American justice. Kamal Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
And reaction to the U.S. attack has been mixed. Some demonstrators gathered outside the U.S. consulate in Toronto, rallying in opposition to the military action.
Venezuela is a country that has never gone to war with anyone. Venezuela is a country that has never done anything to the United States of America or to Canada, and yet it was brutally attacked early this morning at 2 o'clock, and its president kidnapped along with his wife.
A similar protest was held outside the White House today. Signs reading "Stop Bombing Venezuela Now" and "No Blood for Oil." We're also hearing reports of a similar demonstration planned for here in Ottawa tomorrow. And we are continuing to follow the reaction to the situation in Venezuela. Again, those reactions have been mixed. Some are in support with Maduro's arrest. We'll have more on this a little bit later in the newscast. Well, here in Ottawa, taking the bus and the LRT now costs more with a price hike that was implemented at the start of the new year. But some residents say they're not on board with the price increase. CTV's Kimberly Johnson is live now with reaction from transit riders. Kimberly.
Austin, some of those who take public transit say that they were surprised by the fare hike and say the increases are making things harder for them. Some are already avoiding monthly passes, arguing costs are too high.
Aaron Dodge needs public transit for everything he does, but can't afford a monthly pass.
It's not feasible to be able to do an entire pass in one sitting, because it might mean that I'm not able to eat later on in the day or later on in the week.
He says he lives in a shelter, financially reliant on social assistance. The new total of a monthly pass at $138.50 is not possible for him. So he says he uses single fares for every trip, scraping together every dollar he can. But even that has gone up by 10 cents.
It's not fair because, we don't always have the money that we need.
Transit fares have increased by 2.5% for 2026. Ottawa continues to have the fourth most expensive transit system for monthly passes in the country, behind Toronto, Mississauga, and Brampton.
Oh, it looks like it's $8.20 just for two of us one way, and then we've got the other three. They've got their Presto passes, so it's going to be over $40 for us to take the train there and back.
Finding the new year is bringing a new price for the train came as a shock for this family, traveling downtown from Blair Station. Rebecca Langley says she skips getting monthly passes for her kids because it doesn't make financial sense.
Sometimes we can pick them up so that it saves us a bit of money that way. But yeah, it's gross. I didn't know about the rates going up until just now, so that's even grosser.
Also in store for 2026, testing on the LRT east extension to Orleans. That will begin in January. And while officials say the project could wrap up by March of this year, there's no certain opening date for the extension. Still, transit users hope it comes online sooner rather than later.
I was planning to move there after in summer or so I would rather have the train extended to Orleans rather than relying on the bus service.
I just like to go out there once in a while, and it would be handy to have the train going.
This senior's pass holder is eagerly awaiting the Orleans extension and understands the price hike.
I don't have a problem with it. It's normal.
In order for the LRT extension to Trim Road to open, it will have to go through 2 more rounds of trials, including 5 to 10 days of pre-trial running and mandatory trial running that will last a minimum of 21 days. In November, the interim head of the OC Transpo says that at the end of March opening seems achievable. Austin?
And we will wait to see if that is achieved. CTV's Kimberly Johnson reporting live for us tonight. Kimberly, thank you very much. Well, the Rideau Canal Skateway got a little bit longer this morning, 800 meters longer to be exact. Another stretch of ice opened up, allowing skaters to take off even more closer to downtown. The extension drawing more to the city as well. CTV's Josh Morano joins us live with more on how people and businesses are benefiting from this. Josh.
Yeah, Austin, there is now 4.2 kilometers of ice to skate on from the Rideau Rest area to the Bank Street Bridge, making skaters who traveled from out of town to experience the canal happy and local businesses even happier.
A weekend trip to the capital just got a little longer for Haley Skinner and her family.
We used to live in Ottawa, so we're really happy to bring them and get to have this experience with them. So the ice conditions are really great, and we're having a lot of fun.
The Skinners are in town for the weekend from Kingston after seeing 3.4 kilometers of the skateway was opened early. But when they arrived Saturday morning, they were happy to see even more was added.
We're super excited. We got on right at Rideau with the kids. It's their first time on the canal, so they're super excited.
Another 800 meters of ice was opened to the public from Somerset to the Rideau Rest area, a section that usually takes longer to open. Along with more ice to skate on, Capital Skates Rentals is now open at the Rideau Rest area, but people entering there will need to make their way to the Concord access point to enjoy a beaver tail.
Yes, beaver tails have been mentioned already, so they're looking forward to enjoying that as well.
We can't wait for the other location to open. We can't wait to get the really kick off and have all our locations open in the full canal stretch because it's definitely a wonderful place.
Staff say they look forward to canal season as more people make their way to the city.
It's actually wonderful. A lot of tourism comes in, a lot of people, and it's just lovely to hear all the stories and all the people that come over and getting to talk to them.
And it's not just on the ice. Businesses nearby also say they too see a spike in attendance during canal season.
The canal is just more of a good thing. We're just super thankful that we get a lot of great people in here, and it's great that we're in a high traffic area with lots going on.
For the Skinners, getting in a few more laps on the canal and enjoying winter in the capital.
We're out here for the weekend and going to be visiting some of the museums and just enjoying everything that Ottawa has to offer in the winter.
Now, there's still no timeline as to when the full stretch of the canal will open. Crews are out monitoring ice conditions regularly, but with an upcoming stretch of warm weather, that's something they will have to take into consideration. Austin.
Yeah, Josh, great time when the Canal Skateway opens. I've been out there once. Absolutely love it. Thank you very much for this. CTV's Josh Morano reporting live for us tonight. And Josh alluded to that stretch of warm weather, but we do have a couple more days of pretty cold temperatures to get through before we get that warm up. As we take our first look at the weather forecast, minus 13 right now. We do have a chance of flurries carrying over through this evening. Tonight's low getting down to a very brisk minus 19, minus 26 in Kittigan's, minus 21 in Cornwall. Very cold in Tremblant overnight, minus 28 degrees. I'm sure the snow is beautiful and fluffy, but you wouldn't catch me out there with the wind in my face at these temperatures. Minus 22 is the low tonight in Gatineau. Warming up tomorrow, but not really actually. Minus 15 is the high for tomorrow. So that stretch of warm weather, we will have to wait until about a week when we may be getting above 0 degrees. Minus 14 is the high in Gatineau. Minus 18 tomorrow in Maniwaki. Ontario Provincial Police say a 50-year-old man is dead after a snowmobile collision in Beckwith Township early this morning. Police say they responded to a crash at Brunton Side Road east of Franktown. That's about 60 kilometers southwest of Ottawa, shortly before 4:30 this morning, where the driver of the snowmobile collided with a parked trailer. A family member located the man and began life-saving efforts before first responders arrived. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Well, the new year brings new rules governing in-person work here in Ontario, with thousands of public service employees returning to office full-time on Monday. CTV's Beth McDonnell has reaction.
Tens of thousands of Ontario public servants have known for months. Come Monday, it's reality. They're required to return to the office 5 days a week.
I think there's a lot of mayhem going on. I think lots of people are unhappy about returning. We're wondering what the traffic is going to be like.
That's an especially big concern in Toronto as the city continues to deal with a congestion crisis. The government workers will be joining thousands of other employees at banks, telecom and tech companies who've also been called back from remote work. But some are saying there should be compromise and flexibility.
I would really hope that they will do the productivity and efficiency studies, because it may not be necessary to bring everyone back to the office 5 days a week. 4 days is sufficient for morale, for camaraderie, for leadership issues. I just don't think that we necessarily have to come back 5 days a week for certain positions.
Others point to a sharp drop in daytime foot traffic among retailers and restaurants in the downtown core, which still haven't rebounded.
But from the government's perspective, they're taking kind of a holistic approach to say, no, we got to come back to work. And ultimately, with one eye on the economy and one eye on some of the other issues that, they find that, they believe that employees are more productive in the office.
The Toronto Region Board of Trade says on peak days, downtown offices already have over 80% occupancy. It says while employers have different needs, it's seeing an uptick in demand for space, with this latest shift happening at a time when Toronto must consider its position across the continent.
We're competing, not just with other Canadian cities, but with other employers across the continent to attract businesses, to make sure that we're an attractive place to work and to do business. And a lot of our peer cities across North America have also seen a trend towards return to office.
Some employment experts say there are ways to make employees feel better about returning to the office full-time, such as prizes or productivity incentives. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
Cross-country ski season is well underway. Many skiers are out on the trails a little bit earlier this year. Businesses are obviously loving that. They say this extended season is great for business. CTV's Camille Wilson was out checking out some of those trails today and joins us live with more. Camille.
Austin, skiers across Ottawa and the Gatineau area are picking up their poles and clipping on their bindings to take full advantage of this winter weather. I spoke to skiers today, some beginners and some experienced, that say they are super happy about the snow and early start. Skiers couldn't be happier with the cold temperatures and early snowfall.
This is the first time out this year, and I'm incredibly excited. It's beautiful out.
A familiar sight for Nirvan Maharshan at Kitchissippi Ski Trail, somewhere he comes every year.
I've been skiing I'm almost 60, so I've been skiing a long time.
The 18 kilometers winter trail along the Ottawa River, a popular route for many cross-country skiers.
I'm excited that ski season is starting. Every year we come down. It's very close to home, so I can leave my house, come down here and do a little ski and be home, within an hour.
And over at Gatineau Park, Le Relais Plein Air Ski Rentals says the weather has helped a lot.
The ski season is going really well this year. We have a lot of snow early in the season. That boosts business a lot. Usually in the weekend it's more busy for us. This year it's better than last year as well because the winter season started early. So for the last month, it's pretty good.
Gatineau Park, one of the largest networks of winter trails in North America, with more than 200 kilometers of cross-country skiing with a variety of terrain.
There was enough snow to get a good ski.
It's a gorgeous day today. I'm here with my family. Great place to ski here at the Relais Plein Air in Gatineau.
Some almost considering themselves a pro. How long have you been skiing for?
55 years. It's an early start and will be very good for the whole season.
And as people grab their poles and buckle their bindings, Maharshan has one message.
Take advantage of it. It's wonderful to be outside in Canada.
For those that love to glide through snowy forests and trails, there are numerous trails within the capital region to explore, including Gatineau Park, Mooney's Bay Ski Center, and Britannia Winter Trail. Austin.
Absolutely love it. Camille, thank you very much for this. CTV's Camille Wilson reporting live for us tonight. Well, preparations are underway for the 2026 Men's and Women's Curling Ontario Championship. Crews have been busy at work converting a rink from a hockey ice surface to curling ice with a short turnaround before athletes hit the pad in just a couple of days. CTV's Ashley Bacon reports.
Getting the ice ready for a provincial curling championship is no easy feat, especially on a tight timeline.
We have about just a little over 72 hours to get the ice turned from hockey ice to curling ice and being able to throw rocks on it.
Crews started to change the ice over late New Year's Eve and have been working around the clock to ensure everything is ready to go for the first draw on Sunday.
We put little bumps of ice on top of the flat ice surface, and that's called pebble. So what that does is it actually lifts the rock up off the ice to help reduce friction and make it easier to throw the rock down the ice. It also helps add curl to the rock, hence the name curling. We walk backwards down the ice, waving it back and forth like this to break it into droplets, and it flies pretty evenly across the ice and freezes in little droplets.
The championship will see 24 teams from across the province, with the winner moving on to the national stage.
12 women's teams and 12 men's teams competing for the opportunity to represent Ontario and the Scotties in the women's case and the Brier in the men's case.
Bill Barr chairs the championship. He says Woolwich Memorial Centre has room for around 1,100 spectators.
Kids under 12 are free, so it's a great family event if you want to bring your kids out and watch.
With hope of inspiring the next generation of curlers.
Historically, Olympic years has always kind of boosted the sport and the interest in it, so we're really hoping to reap those benefits of this event as well.
And now that preparations are well underway, the next step is just to get spectators and teams in and to kick things off come Sunday. The tournament will wrap on the 11th. Ashley Bacon, CTV News, Elmira.
It's incredibly emotional to see the place and realize how strong.
Still ahead, Swiss police launch an investigation into the managers of the bar where a fire at a New Year's party left 40 people dead. Before we go to break, there's a live look through our Centennial Glass Skycam. It is minus 13 degrees. Returning now to our coverage of the situation in Venezuela after U.S. airstrikes in that country. As reaction pours in, the Trump administration is facing questions from U.S. lawmakers about the decision to launch military action. Secretary of State Marco Rubio pushed back when asked if congressional leaders had been given a heads up before the operation.
We called members of Congress immediately after. This was not the kind of mission that you can do congressional notification on. It was a trigger-based mission in which conditions had to be met night after night. We watched and monitored that for a number of days. So it's just simply not the kind of mission you can call people and say, hey, we may do this at some point in the next 15 days. But it's largely a law enforcement function. Remember, at the end of the day, at its core, this was an arrest of 2 indicted fugitives of American justice, and the Department of War supported the Department of Justice in that job. Now, there are broader policy implications here, but it's just not the kind of mission that you can pre-notify because it endangers the mission.
Plus, if I could add one thing to that, Congress has a tendency to leak. This would not be good. If they leaked, General, I think it would have been maybe a very different result.
Meantime, Democrats say the president is keeping Americans in the dark about his true objectives in Venezuela.
When we had briefings on Venezuela, we asked, are you going to invade the country? We were told no. Do you plan to put troops on the ground in Venezuela? We were told no. Do you intend regime change in Venezuela? We were told no. So in a sense, we have been briefed. We've just been completely lied to.
Many Democrats and several Republicans have also questioned whether Trump was legally allowed to order the strikes in Venezuela without congressional approval. The administration and Republican leadership say he was. This comes as some Venezuelan communities abroad celebrate the U.S. government's actions. This was the scene in Florida, just outside of Miami, as crowds of Venezuelans gathered to sing the national anthem and to celebrate the arrest of Maduro, some even thanking President Donald Trump. Turning now to Switzerland, where authorities have opened an investigation into the managers of the bar where a fire at a New Year's party left 40 people dead.
It's incredibly emotional to see the place and realize how strong the power of these flames must have been. Even on the top floor where I could enter you can smell it. You can see the damage that was caused by these flames. They must have been incredibly intensive. 500, 600 degrees, even on the top floor.
Police say the bar's 2 managers are suspected of negligent homicide, negligent bodily harm, and causing fire by negligence. The fire at the Swiss bar on Thursday killed around 40 people and left more than 100 others injured. It is believed to have started from sparkling candles on the tops of champagne bottles. In the meantime, several of the injured remain unidentified. Russia said on Friday that its forces carried out multiple strikes on Ukrainian targets with high-precision weapons over the past week. Russia's defense ministry says they hit Ukrainian defense, energy, and transport infrastructure. And yesterday, the General Staff of Armed Forces of Ukraine announced that 98 battles occurred in the front-line area over the past day, with Ukrainian forces pushing back against multiple Russian offensives. Meantime, Prime Minister Mark Carney is set to head to Europe next week as talks to end the war in Ukraine are intensifying.
Canada has been a consistent, reliable partner for Ukraine. Canada was already a major partner prior to the full-scale invasion in 2022. As of 2021, Canada had the largest presence on the ground.
The Prime Minister's office has confirmed that Mark Carney will be in Paris on Monday and Tuesday to meet with the Coalition of the Willing, a group of 35 of Ukraine's staunchest allies. The meeting comes about a week after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's most recent meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump, who left that meeting insisting Ukraine and Russia were closer than ever to a peace deal. Transport Canada has warned Air India that airline could lose its flight authorizations after a pilot was arrested in Vancouver for allegedly drinking alcohol before takeoff. The incident happened on December 23rd at Vancouver International Airport. Reuters reports that the pilot was found to be under the influence of alcohol after police conducted 2 breathalyzer tests. Sources tell CTV News an airport duty-free employee alerted authorities. The RCMP confirmed yesterday the pilot was arrested and the investigation is ongoing. In a statement, Air India says the pilot has been removed from flying duties. Well, a third of temporary foreign workers hired in Canada fall under the agricultural stream. With new rules being put in place by the federal government, that number could be reduced. Then, as CTV's Miriam Valdez-Carletti reports, some Alberta farmers are worried about the potential impacts that could have on their businesses.
It takes a lot more than these busy bees to produce nearly 600,000 kilograms of honey a year. Nixon Honey Farms has been relying on the help of temporary foreign workers since 1998.
And we were quite smaller at that time, running less hives, and we started with just 1 worker and eventually 2 workers.
The farm now employs 18 seasonal and temporary foreign workers. In September, Ottawa announced it would reduce the number of temporary foreign workers allowed into Canada to 230,000 in 2026, down from 368,000. The measures were introduced due to recent high employment. Like many Alberta farmers, Nixon says he's tried to hire Canadians without much success.
It's hard manual labor, and we're lifting a lot of boxes, we're working in the heat. It's just one of these jobs in agriculture that we can't seem to attract stable Canadian workforce.
And speaking with a lot of beekeepers, they don't want to get stung on the job, and kids don't want to work that hard 12 hours a day.
In response to the cuts, the Alberta Federation of Agriculture outlined a series of recommendations for the federal government to help farmers. The Federation says producers were anxious when they heard the program could impact how many temporary foreign workers they hire.
We have some of the most productive producers in all the world. And they simply want to have access to the people and the tools to make sure they have the best outcome possible.
Employment and Social Development Canada says temporary foreign workers account for 1% of Canada's workforce. Last year, more than a third of those workers were in agriculture. While Nixon says his farm is still operating as usual for now, he's worried about potential cuts.
I honestly don't know what we would do. Possibly looking at selling part of the business or downsizing.
The AFA says if farmers need to pay more for labor, that cost will trickle down to your dinner plate.
Or we're not going to have enough product, which means, less selection or less availability at the grocery store.
Employment and Social Development Canada didn't say how many agriculture positions would be reduced in the temporary foreign programs. It says it generally exempts the measures in agriculture and food processing. Miriam Valdez-Carletti, CTV News, Edmonton.
As of next week, lower-priced generic versions of the drug Ozempic can be made by drug companies here in Canada. At the end of December, Health Canada received 9 submissions seeking approval to make semaglutide, which is the active ingredient in brand-name diabetes and weight loss drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy. Based on pricing models in Canada, generic versions of these drugs could be priced at as much as 35% of what current brand name offerings cost right now. That could result in significant savings for Canadians using those brand names like Ozempic, which can cost a few $100s each month.
Right now, our early numbers for 26 are really strong for domestic travel.
As some Canadians continue to avoid the United States and travel closer to home, domestic tourism is getting a major boost. More on that after the break.
Get the latest live local breaking news. Sign up now for our morning and evening CTV News Ottawa newsletter. The best local content from CTV News, Your Morning Ottawa, and News Talk 580 CFRA. Get it all in one place. Sign up now at ctvnewsottawa.ca. The CTV News Ottawa newsletter is brought to you in part by CAA Business.
There's a live look at some of the Ottawa highways tonight. It looks like there isn't any snow on the roadways, which is good news. We do have some flurries in the forecast, albeit light ones most likely for much of the city tonight. But it's obviously quite cold. A little bit of a slowdown there on parts of the highway. But for the most part, things are quite smooth. As we take another look at the weather forecast, and we do expect things to warm up a little bit in the coming days, but it won't be until about next weekend that we start to see above zero temperatures. That's the expectation right now. A quick look at the satellite radar, but we're going to start out on the east coast. It's -3 degrees in St. John's right now. Stark contrast in Charlottetown, -14 and snow, -15 in Fredericton, and that's closer to us here in Ottawa at -14 degrees right now, -20 in Quebec City. -5 in Toronto, and that is the weather system that we're likely going to be feeling in the next little while, closer to those temperatures here in the capital. Out on the prairies, about what we're experiencing here between -10, -11, and -20 in Winnipeg. It's 10 degrees in Vancouver, though. As always, that's the hot spot. They've got a mix of sun and cloud over there. Getting down to -19 degrees tonight. There's that chance of flurries I mentioned. And then tomorrow's high, just -15 degrees. So good chance for the NCC to get out and hopefully soon open the entire length of the Rideau Canal Skateway. We can only hope and wait. The Ottawa Valley quite cool tonight. -22 degrees, -21 along the Seaway. And keep in mind, this is the actual temperature. That doesn't factor in the wind chill. So that chance of flurries and very cold in the overnight hours across the region. Here's what I'm talking about when I mention that warm up. You've got quite cold conditions until about Tuesday night, and then Wednesday, -2 is the high. So still in the freezing mark, but it'll start to warm up from there. 0-degree high on Thursday. Right now, we're expecting highs of 2 degrees on both Friday and Saturday. And there is a mix of some snow, some ice, and some rain in the forecast for those days as well. So hopefully not enough to warm up the Rideau Canal, but something to keep in mind. Well, 2025 featured a major boost in domestic travel, with many choosing not to travel to the United States amid the trade war with our southern neighbors. And tourism operators here are expecting another big year in 2026. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth has more on the travel trend and how people are preparing for it.
All is quiet on the Halifax waterfront, but Dennis Campbell is still savoring the memories of last year's record-breaking tourism season.
From air, car, rail, cruise ship, just like we've never seen before.
Tensions between Canada and the U.S. resulted in many Canadians choosing to spend their vacation dollars closer to home. The Canada Strong Pass, provided by Parks Canada, also had an impact, offering free or discounted admission to sites and landmarks across the country. Last year, the pass was linked to a 6.5% increase in Via Rail ridership, a 13% jump at Parks Canada sites, and a 15% increase in National Museum visits. The pass is available again this year. Campbell expects 2026 to be even busier than last year.
Right now, our early numbers for 26 are really strong for domestic travel.
Some point to the recent drop in gas prices, allowing Canadians to keep their travel habits north of the border.
The gas prices falling for domestic short-haul travel is fantastic for as an incentive. It just makes the holiday or the trip much more affordable.
The tourism operators are also forecasting a record-breaking cruise ship season for the Maritimes and Quebec. Last year in Halifax, more than 200 ships came to port, with even more expected in 2026.
What we saw this year, which we never saw really before, was people getting on a 7-day cruise in Montreal and getting off in Halifax, which was the last port before Boston or New York, so that they could stay within Canada, which, as I say, we never saw that. We saw that quite a bit this summer.
One of the many travel trends recently witnessed as domestic tourism continues to grow in Canada. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
Especially meat, there's still very high prices on meat.
Nobody wants to pay more than they should, and I go between stores.
Still ahead, a new grocery code of conduct is now in effect across Canada, but there are questions about whether it'll have any tangible benefits for shoppers. In case you missed it this week, Algonquin College is offering a hands-on look at traditional Indigenous knowledge through a deer hide tanning workshop series. CTV's Dave Charbonneau reports it's giving learners a rare opportunity to connect with culture and community.
In the Ishkadewin courtyard at Algonquin College, students and staff are learning an ancestral practice passed down through generations.
Today, we are going to be dry scraping a deer hide.
The Mamadoswin Center, which supports Indigenous learners and offers cultural programs on campus, brings in knowledge keepers to share these traditional teachings.
Very gentle strokes.
Tammy Pazendawatch Tawashi is guiding students through every step.
What I do is I tan hides, moose hides, and deer hides. But I do it the traditional way in terms of transforming it into smoked tanned leather by using 2 hands and hand tools.
The workshops show how deer and moose hides become soft, usable leather, the material behind many traditional goods.
Traditionally, this is where our moccasins come from, right? It comes from the moose, it comes from the deer. So any leather goods, if you want to make, I like to make earrings, handbags, moccasins, vests.
Student Keon Everhart says a class like this provides a connection to nature.
I feel like it's an amazing experience for me because I've never done it before, and I'm really proud to be able to show people that I've done this. I think it's amazing. It's a cultural experience for sure. I feel very connected to the nature around me, and whenever I get the chance to learn about it, I come and I participate. And it also builds a community.
One of the goals is to highlight and reflect on Indigenous culture and practices.
Land-based learning is part of our mandate at the Mamadouson Centre, and so we do try to do this type of activity or something similar at least once or twice a year.
Engagements with knowledge keepers such as Tammy Cote today is really a part of our community, and Algonquin College has made a real commitment to learning about Indigenous peoples, engaging with Indigenous peoples, and listening to Indigenous peoples.
Light pressure, because if you go too hard, you're going to break.
As for Tammy Pazindawatch-Tawashi, she says the workshops also ensure traditional skills are passed on to future generations.
My goal is to revitalize these teachings so more people are learning the traditional teachings of our ancestors.
Dave Charbonneau, CTV News.
With the calendar flipping to 2026, grocery stores and suppliers are now working within a grocery code of conduct. But as CTV's Callum Smith reports, there are already questions about whether the policy will work.
When you talk to people outside the grocery store, price tags are on the minds of many.
That's the main concern, especially meat. There's still very high prices on meat.
Nobody wants to pay more than they should, you know, and I go between stores.
After being rolled out in phases, there's now a dispute resolution process in place as part of the National Grocery Code of Conduct for issues between suppliers and grocers. It's all aimed at a more fair and transparent supply chain. Ottawa already warned the voluntary code could become mandatory if the key players didn't sign up, but since then, Canada's 5 largest grocers jumped on board.
It is a voluntary code, so no fines, no reprimands, or anything like that. We don't know if it is going to work.
If it does, he says it won't lower prices, but might slow growth.
We are expecting to see more variety and more price stability, so that food inflation rate that we have at 4.7% should drop if the code works.
The Canadian Federation of Independent Grocers is confident it will be effective.
The only mechanism we have available is the name and shame, but I do believe, as I said, that will work.
He agrees there will likely be some price stabilization if this is successful and says additional grocery variety is good news for consumers, expecting a more level playing field for the smaller shops.
We have a myriad of rural and remote communities out there where often the independent grocer is the only source of food for those rural and remote communities. And in the past, we've seen that independent grocers have not always been treated fairly by suppliers.
Experts say we will be able to make a better judgment within 1 year to see if the code has been effective. Callum Smith, CTV News, Dartmouth.
In the middle of the ice, here's Shabbat with room on his back end, towards the middle, scores!
The Sens are looking to secure another win tonight. They are hosting the Winnipeg Jets, who are struggling. We'll tee up the game right after the break. In tonight's Big Picture, a group in North Carolina is turning trash into treasure to bring a little bit of joy to the streets. Members of the Street Creature Puppet Collective, they use everything from pool noodles to coffee filters and twigs in order to build these giant eco-friendly creations. And they've been doing this for 13 years, meeting monthly to make the puppets. And of course, once you've made them, you gotta show them off. They parade them proudly about their community. Well, turning now to some of the other stories that you need to know. Sports stories, namely hockey for tonight. And CTV's Natalie Van Roy joins us now with the details. Natalie.
Well, thanks, Austin. The Ottawa Charge hit the ice for their first game of 2026 this afternoon, hosting the defending Walter Cup champions, the Minnesota Frost.
Lost her footing now. Here's Wozniewicz in towards the goal. Has a lead, scores!
Wozniewicz with a sweet move to the backhand to put the Charge up by 2 in the second period. This game, the third matchup of the season for the Charge, where Ottawa continued its winning streak, beating Minnesota with a final score of 5-2. The Charge is back on the ice January 9th to take on Vancouver at 7 p.m. at TD Place.
In comes Parekh. Parekh sends it back in there. Parekh turned away, the rebound, Beaudoin scores.
A dominant performance from Canada last night in the quarterfinals, taking down Slovakia. 7-1 is the final score. 7 different goal scorers for the Canadians in this one. Canada will now face Czechia in the semifinals on tomorrow night at 8:30 after the Czechs took down Switzerland 6-2.
In the middle of the ice, here's Shabbat with room on his back end, towards the middle, scores!
The Sens will look to build off of their first win of 2026 against the Capitals on New Year's Day with a win tonight at home against the Winnipeg Jets. Now, the Jets are riding an 8-game losing streak going back to December 15th when Ottawa and Winnipeg last met. Now, the Sens won that game 3-2 in overtime, and they will look to secure another win tonight. Puck drop set for 7 p.m.
Is Vandenberg, couple of 67s all alone, and they do not make a mistake. Ashka Kogan.
A late game tying goal from Brock Chitteroni, his second of the game, 7th of the year, forced overtime between the 67s and the Kingston Frontenacs last night. Now, eventually this one would go to a shootout where the Frontenacs would ice this one away. 4-3 is your final score. And the Barbara Poles play next on Thursday in North Bay. Austin.
Thank you very much for this. I love it when our need-to-knows are all hockey, especially...
All hockey tonight.
Exactly, when we get to talk a little bit about the World Juniors. It's been electric, and I got to be honest with you, pretty nervous to take on the Czechs tomorrow. Will you be watching?
We'll have to watch that closely.
Yeah.
I'll be here. So.
Yeah, it'll be on. It'll
Yeah.
be on the TV, I can guarantee you that.
1, 2, 3. It's great to be a barbershopper.
I bet it is. After the break, we'll introduce you to this a cappella group in Calgary that's been harmonizing for decades. But before we go to break, there's a live look through our Centennial Glass Sky Cam. It is minus 13 degrees.
Tonight, Venezuela's leader captured by the U.S.
We're going to run it, essentially, until such time as a proper transition can take place.
What's next for the country after the stunning military operation? Later on CTV National News and Watch on Crave.
Hairstyles, courtesy of Salon Fiorella.
Here's a recap of the top local stories we're following right now.
We don't always have the money that we need.
Transit riders now paying more for their fees with the turn of the calendar. Some were taken by surprise by the new prices. Others argue that the service is not keeping up with costs. More ice for skaters. The National Capital Commission opens an additional 800 meters of the Rideau Canal Skateway, now starting at the Rideau Rest area. And that means skate rentals are now available.
The ski season is going really well this year.
And unseasonably cold and snowy weather, a tough pill to swallow for some, but not for cross-country skiers. They're now flocking to the trails and soaking up this early winter blitz. So with that in mind, we'll take one last look at the weather forecast and what you can expect, waking up to about minus 19 degrees. Another very cold one in store for tomorrow, and then warming up from there, at least a little bit, really warming up come Thursday, 0 degrees, and then above 0 on Friday and Saturday, a chance of snow and even some rain. Time now to check in with our team to see what we'll be working on for tonight. CTV's Natalie Van Roy is anchoring the Late Show tonight.
Thanks, Austin. Well, tonight we check in on the Venezuelan community in Montreal, where residents say they are cautiously optimistic. This comes after the United States captured Venezuela's president and his wife in a military operation early Saturday. Members of Montreal's Venezuelan community gathered at the Old Port, waving flags and holding on to hope. Some residents say they haven't slept and celebrations are mixed with worry. Many are uncertain about what this update means for families back home. Now, that story tonight, and you can get the news anytime, anywhere at ctvnewsottawa.ca. And join me tonight for CTV News at 11:30.
Thank you very much for this, Natalie. Looking forward to that. And finally for us tonight, an a cappella group in Calgary has been harmonizing for decades. They're striking the right chord between friendship and performance.
And their favorite singing venue does not involve a stage, but rather a breakfast booth. CTV's Tyson Fedor reports.
Let me hear you whisper
the deep baritone voices, harmonizing at the highest level. No instruments, all a cappella. This barbershop quartet and friends sing tunes over a cup of coffee and hot breakfast every week.
It's the highlight of my week, coming out for breakfast every Friday morning.
Doug Spensley, Doug Marwood, Jim Bell and Greg Verhappen have been singing together for several years. Marwood started the original group nearly 5 decades ago.
Most often the guys I sing with, once they start singing in the quartet, stay singing in the quartet. This kind of thing is one of my favorite things.
All of them are members of the Stampede City Chorus.
I think all of us have always been involved in singing, and that's what brings us together. It turns out that for old men like us, getting together with other old men is a good way to stay healthy.
The group will sing at service clubs and nursing homes anywhere an audience will lend an ear.
If we have a busy week, we probably are singing 6 or 7 times.
And while the Deerhead Cafe off Edmonton Trail in the northeast part of the city is their go-to spot, the group will perform anytime for anyone.
We think it sounds pretty good when we sing. At least it sounds good in here. I don't know what it sounds like out there because I've never been out there.
1, 2, 3. It's great to be a barbershopper.
Tyson Fedor, CTV News, Calgary.
And for the record, it does sound great out there.
It does. I was thinking the same thing. What a lovely story.
I love
the highlight of their week.
A couple of guys being dudes, you love to see it. Pipes, too. Listen to them go. Good night, everybody.